That's right. We're right here at WCRS Radio. Penny's with me this afternoon. She's got a lot of questions for our guest this afternoon. She loves being outside. She loves making sure that all things living and agriculture and everything are in good shape. So our very special guest is Cody Simpson. He is running for the title of Commission of Agriculture for South Carolina. He is a Republican. And, you know, Cody, I am so glad to have you here, but one of the questions that I have, what does an agriculture guy do?
Well, I appreciate Penny and you, Miss Ann, having us on the show today. I've got my pup Manning back at the house, so he's going to be wondering who Penny is when I go to talk with him. But the Commissioner of Agriculture oversees the Department of Agriculture in South Carolina, which is about a $52 billion impact on the state. It's the state's largest economy. And the department regulates, if you eat or drink it, the department regulates it. And so it has around 300 employees, give or take. And then it's around, I would say, around $60 million budget. So it's a huge infrastructure in the state, huge agency. It touches just about every facet of our lives. From the gas pumps to the grocery stores to the restaurants to the school cafeterias. The department regulates it, and it's, again, every part of our daily lives. People just may not realize it.
Well, I think we probably don't, but what is your background?
So I'm a fifth-generation farmer. We're in the middle right now of wheat harvest season, and so we wanted to take some time with you, and not only are we harvesting wheat, but we're trying to get the soybeans in the ground. And so we do our own way of regenerative agriculture in a sense of we're already doing this no-till application where we conservation of not tilling up the land, but keeping it and putting the soybeans back. And what we've enjoyed on our farm is to make sure that we keep our land in our family. We've been able to protect that through our conservation practices. And not only that, we have been able to stay on the same land since 1904. So we've been farming here ever since. We've been really farming in America since the late 1700s. So we actually have telegrams that during World War I, where we had one of our relatives who was overseas, where he was actually writing back and saying which pigs to sell and which ones to keep. Don't sell the red one. That one's Charlie's. And Charlie was my great-great-grandfather. So I think it's just amazing how even overseas he was fighting. And we have that now to remember because, unfortunately, he did not make it back. And so we have that memoriam at our farm. And,
but how many? I mean, we've lost a lot of farmers in the last 5 years, haven't we?
We have, yes, ma'am. So around, for the past 5 years, we've lost close to 2,000 farms in South Carolina. And it equates around close to 300,000 acres of good agricultural working lands. And so with my positions, I've worked any place I've ever gone, I've always wanted to bring the resources back to the farm. Even when I went off to college at Francis Marion University, I always was wondering how can I have the business degree, how could I have that understanding to be able to manage our farm. And so I went off to school, ended up graduated surprisingly, and twice.
What are you saying, Cody?
Well, it took me an extra semester. I called it a victory lap.
Okay,
to get out. But then I worked there at university. They helped me with my education by working as a work kind of study program. And then I ended up going to work for Governor McMaster as his agriculture advisor, as chief executive assistant, where I was able to really advocate for policies like the Agriculture Working Lands Preservation Fund, which we have now has now protected close to 5,000 acres. And then going over to work for President Trump as his state executive director for the Farm Service Agency. I was appointed.
How did that work? Now, you're a farmer. Now, let me get this straight. You're
yes,
a farmer,
ma'am.
And yet you're in the political arena by working for Governor McMaster and even for Trump.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I tell you, again, the good Lord when I was 18 years old, I was the first to go off to college, and we had not really done that before. But my grandmother, my great-grandmother, Clara, who her birthday was actually yesterday.
Happy birthday.
Yes, ma'am, Flag Day, and she always taught me, she said, Cody, the government can try to take everything from you, but they can't take your education. And so that encouraged me to get my education. I prayed about it, went off to college. The good Lord has just really opened doors for me. And in this particular case, running for Commissioner of Agriculture, President Trump was my boss, and he said, run, Cody, run. And so here I am. I've been running. And
down to the runoff?
Down to the runoff, you're right. And so I was just at the Oval Office about 2 months ago, and he told me then, and he told just recently before the primary that vote for Cody Simpson. He will never let you down in South Carolina. And for the leader of the free world to say that from my family on my farm, we've come a long ways, but we've always stayed true to who we are. Because my granddad always taught me, he said, son, don't ever forget where you came from and the people have helped you along the way. But he also told me, he said, your last name's everything, son. Don't do anything to mess it up. So Miss Ann, I'm not trying to mess it up anytime soon. So,
well, what's one of the biggest challenges facing our South Carolina farmers, Cody?
I think that our timber industry, especially in this area, I oversaw the recovery efforts there for Hurricane Helene, the resources that were going out under Government Master when we had the Farm and Forest Recovery Resource Days. The first time that had ever been done, Government Master focused on the forestry and the timber impact. To bring the resources to the families. I think timber obviously is, especially in this area, has been hit the hardest. We've had close to 22 mill closures throughout South Carolina, or Southeast, and unfortunately I don't see those coming back. So we've got to do, again, a study and looking over exactly where we are as a state. There are some avenues of creating new markets, whether that be wood-fired energy plants, whether that be actually chopping the wood up and putting in the chips and sending them overseas for the European Union. There's some other opportunities like this biofuel that just is taking place in Orangeburg. They're taking the trees and making it into fuel. And so there are many opportunities, but we have really got to take the bull by the horns. Our forestry industry, like I mentioned earlier is $52 billion. Well, our forestry is close to $23 billion impact of that. And so we've got to do all we can to protect it. We talk about earlier about our land. Well, that's one of the rapid loss of our land is coming into whether it be solar, data, these housing developments, unplanned housing is what development as I call it. Unfortunately, that's taking our land out of production, and I tell people often for every acre that we lose that's developed is another acre that we're dependent on some foreign soil. And right now we have we import close to 70% of all of our produce, our tomatoes, our oranges, our vegetables, all of that.
What are you talking about,
yes,
Cody? What do you mean? They don't put it on big tankers and bring it over here, do they?
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, and I hate to do that to Penny, but yes, ma'am. That's exactly right, and we've got to stop it. I think that's why, again, the president has asked me to come serve, is because we want to put South Carolina first. We want to bring and put our farmers first right in this area. Nearby, especially is our peach country. We grow more peaches in the state of Georgia. I want to make sure if you got any listeners there too, but we actually grow more than the state of Georgia and any other state other than, I guess, California. But I also like to remind people that we're the tastier peach.
The tastier peach?
That's right. Yes, ma'am. So, and I just had one of those good homemade peach ice creams from up at Strawberry Hill up there in Chesney.
Right.
I encourage people to go up there, but they churned it really, the old ice cream churn, which dates all the way back to the 1940s.
Right.
It was running, and I got a scoop out of it, and oh my goodness, I had to take a quart back with me.
Well, I don't want to get off track. I want to stay, but the new agriculture secretary for the country.
Yes, ma'am.
She seems like a dynamo. I can't think of her name, but
Secretary Brooke Rollins.
Yes.
I had the pleasure of serving under her. She is a dynamic leader. She's very transformational. I think anybody would run through a wall for her because she is such a dynamic leader. To your point, she has come in and really brought the farmers back, and she instituted the policy Farmers First. That was the first time that we've ever had someone. I know my granddad has told me this, and he's been around for a little while. He said, Cody, this is the most active Secretary of Agriculture we've ever seen in our life on our farm, and we feel like that this president is the first time that we've ever felt being present and heard, that our issues are actually being brought to the forefront, and she has done a great job of that. I want to take that same approach of bringing the resources back out to our people. That was my initiative. We're all able to, again, we work on behalf of the administration, but I wanted to take the President's America First agenda a little step further. I wanted to take that agenda out to the people in the rural communities. I've been on those farms, all 46 counties, especially right here in Greenwood, and there were several, and I just talked to a couple of the farmers here, Mr. Eddie Ellison earlier this morning, who's a great farmer here in the area. They had told me that had never been done before. A state executive director had never been out on our farms, and I said, well, I want to make sure that President Trump and the administration, that we are changing this whole dynamic of the government, the people working for the government. We want the government to work for the people. And I think that's what we want to certainly take that same approach at your Department of Agriculture here in South Carolina, because I know the resources. I know what we can do. But, like President Reagan always said, though, when he first got into office, I think it was about 2 months in, he said, really the worst enemy of the American people at the time was our own bureaucracy.
Yeah. I'm the government, and I'm here to help.
I'm here to help.
Yeah,
and
there you
so
go.
that's what he stated that. And I cannot be, again, the last time that this position has been in open primaries is since 2002. Well, at 34 years old, again, I've only really known one commissioner. I know two, but I remember a really good one, in that period of time. And, we have not had, again, that change of leadership in over 20 years.
It's time. It's
exactly.
time.
Yeah, you're right. And my brother just graduated high school, and he was born after 2002. So I'm with you. It's a time for changing.
So what can the Agriculture Commissioner realistic do to help farms remain successful?
I think that their main obligation is to not only create market access to our people and be able to sell directly to the consumer. I think that people are really waking up, and they're wanting their children to eat more healthy. I think it's their obligation, really, for us to not only with the produce, because they do a really good job in some aspects of the Certified SC, but why not be Certified SC beef? Why not be Certified SC poultry or pork? We want to really get into, again, representing and advocating and advertising our locally grown produce and our own meat supply, because we want to keep our farms. There's a lot of people that are wanting to do backyard farming, homesteading.
Right.
We need to cater to them as well. Right now.
How about the John De La Howe School down there? Have you been there?
I have, and that was another accomplishment when I worked for Government Masters, that they were going to close the school.
Right.
And we're so fortunate. You probably remember the late Dr. Ann Hancock,
right?
Who was a huge proponent,
she's a friend. Yep.
And she was a wonderful lady, and I do miss her. And I do miss even coming to Greenwood and not being able to see her, because every trip that we ever made up here, she was always there, all decked out.
And she was always a trip.
She was. She was.
She always had great stories.
She
too.
did,
Yes.
and she was such an advocate, and I made a pledge. I was at the Upstate Republican Women's Forum, and I pledged to them then that as the next Commissioner of Agriculture, that I would always advocate for the Governor's School for Agriculture at John De La Howe, because that is the future generation. We've got to make sure that we have a great opportunity for them. They're actually now able to sell direct from eggs and the beef, the meat there now. and they're the only school in America, and I believe the governor says in the world, the only residential school, high school for our students here in South Carolina based on agriculture. They're surrounded by a great forest, and I know they're really getting into the forestry aspect.
And coordinating with Clemson.
Oh, yes.
And I've had the opportunity to talk to some of their students. I know Susan
Isn't
Jones.
that a blessing?
Yes, with the bees, with the honey and everything.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a great program
Oh,
over
yeah.
there. And I think, when I think about because when Della Howe was going downhill, that it was a question, what are we going to do with it? And
That's right.
And to bring it around and see it today, it's really tremendous. It is tremendous.
Well, you're right. And, the legislature, they were going to close it. And Governor McMaster said, we had a plan, and went to the General Assembly. We worked, and it all came to fruition. And now we are certainly able to enjoy that. But it's the same people in that community that are a part of the board, part of the foundation. They're still, again, very active, the alumni of the school. But I do think that we need to keep those treasures because that place being protected, every time I go there, I just fall back in love with it because it's surrounded by that beautiful lake. And being out in those woods, it puts you in a different place. But seeing those children learning directly where their food comes from, I think is important because right now we have an education issue, in my opinion, of folks not knowing, even adults not knowing that their food
comes
didn't
from
just
the grocery store, doesn't it, Cody? Come on, you go to the grocery store, you pick it up, or you go to a fast food restaurant and buy your food, right?
Well, that may be, but it's got to come from somebody in some farm, and
Right.
And so we've
Do we
got
have enough farms to supply us, though? I mean, what would be the goal futuristically? You talked about how much food comes into this country. Can we realistically change that?
I think we can, especially here in South Carolina. I really wake up every day and what can I do for South Carolina agriculture? And I think that we do have the land currently. We just need to help the farmers that are currently on their farm to understand what we can sell, that they may have to transition from different commodities. But I do think that if we worked hard, if we put our minds to that and we are understanding of the markets that are here, and we incentivize, in my opinion, that we incentivize the local producers for folks to buy from them. I think that's how we are able to keep our local grocery stores. Unfortunately, even they are closing, like the old Piggly Wiggly I used to work at. I was there at 16 years old, and I did that during the winter months and also did it in college, but I'm still big on the pig. But
big on the pig.
That's
Okay,
right.
there you go.
That's right. And unfortunately, the one in Somerton where I worked at is closed, and the one I worked in Florence is now closed. So those small local mom and pop type grocery stores, the old independent grocers association, the IGAs, the Winn-Dixies, they're unfortunately going away. And this mentality of this, I don't mean any harm to anybody, but if you don't realize it, but it's this consolidation of our food supply. You look at Smithfield Farms, for example, and it has been sold. It's no longer an American company. The Chinese now own it. They just recently acquired Nathan Brand hot dogs, the American tradition.
Come on.
Oh, it's unfortunate, but they have. And we have got to wake up and realize that we cannot allow these foreign threats to come into our country. Because if you really want to, get down to history and you see how these communists can come in, and they've done it in past history, where how they're able to control the countries is by their food supply.
Yes.
And we have got to do a better job, in my opinion, of highlighting that. I do think one of the major threats that we do have, not only with development, is, speaking of foreign owned land, is this Chinese owned land here in South Carolina. We have about 800 acres, and then you try North Carolina is around 49,000 acres.
49,000.
49,000 owned, and you have to be a sworn member of the Chinese Communist Party to even have the funds available. And so I want to work with the General Assembly, Representative McCravey, who's here, a dear friend who's also supports our run for Commissioner of Agriculture. there are some great legislation in the General Assembly that I want to work with them to not only ban this foreign-owned land, but I want to do what they did in Arkansas, and I want to take our land back because it's our land. And as an American citizen, we should not be allowing a foreign adversarial country to have rights here on our land in South Carolina.
And in so many of them, they're building them right next to bases, Army bases, this type of thing. So this is a big problem. You
are correct, because we farm in Sumter County, and not too far from us around Shaw Air Force Base, the Chinese-owned land there. They're not only doing that, but what I am very upset about is that I just heard about a month ago a young lady, she is expanding her farm, or wanting to, because she was really getting into the market. And she didn't have the capital, so she went and was borrowing the money. She was going to expand, I think, buy close to 31 acres. Well, she got to the table to buy it, and a cash offer came in. Unfortunately, she didn't get the deal. She lost it. The folks told her that after she learned who it was actually the Chinese communist, had an all-cash deal offer, and now they're putting it into, to your point, condos. They're taking it out of ag production, and I went by and saw it, and it really made my stomach sick, because that was a farmer here in America, a lady, a first-generation farmer who was trying to expand her business, but somehow we allowed the Chinese to come in here and take that from us and take that American dream. And, that just doesn't seem right to me. And I hope it feels the same way across South Carolina. And I want on day one, I want to hold people accountable, and I want to take that land back, as I mentioned.
Absolutely. So, now many people do not realize the Department of Agriculture oversees restaurant inspections and food safety responsibilities.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, Cody, I just got to...
I pray to the good Lord. He has prepared me for a time such as this. I think about that all throughout my journey in this election. I've had such a wonderful time to reflect. People say, how do you have time to reflect? But I think the good Lord, if you talk to the man upstairs and you stay grounded in your faith, he'll open doors for you, or he'll open ways that you may not have realized while you experience certain things in your life. But he was getting you prepared again for a journey that he's always in control. And I think that my experience working as President Trump's, as I mentioned, the state executive director, which I just told people I was just Trump's farmer. I oversaw really two. It was the agency in itself was the Farm Service Agency, but there were two different functions. One was the farm programs side, and then the other was the farm loans, which a lot of folks needed capital. We were extending that farm ownership, which they could actually purchase land. Farm operating loans where they could get lines of credit. The farm program side is those conservation programs we talked about to keep their farms in farmland. And so that was around 200 employees. We had a massive budget there that we worked to make sure, again, that the money was well spent. We helped under Secretary Rollins. We helped deliver across the nation. I think it was close to $11 billion for economic aid. The president, again, as I was again transitioning to again run for this office. I didn't realize I would even be doing it, but I made sure that the people were prepared, and we had to modernize very quickly. We had to turn these applications, instead of paper applications, we had to get this money in the hands of the farmers because we knew it was important. We also knew that that farmers needed that line of credit to stay afloat.
Particularly with Hurricane Helene.
Oh,
hit.
yes.
I mean, that should have been a big problem. We're going to run out of time, and I know you're going to have to go. But what is the one thing that voters don't understand about our agriculture?
Again, I think the importance of where their food comes from and the labor that goes into it, Mother Nature and the good Lord above, all the above that really goes into when they sit down and eat that meal at the table. I hope that they pray and they thank the ones that have prepared it, the ones that have grown it. And I think that people may not realize the love that the farmers put in and again, sacrifice and blood, sweat, and tears. to keep their farm.
I think all somebody needs to do is go out and grow a few ears of corn or
Yes,
some
ma'am.
tomato plants and realize how hard work that is.
Well, I couldn't agree more, especially get a little dirt under your fingernails. It doesn't hurt anybody. But speaking of growing, I did bring you some of my sunflower seeds.
I love sunflowers.
These are good seeds, not bad seeds.
Okay, cool.
But we want you to plant a seed for Cody Simpson. Your listeners, I know, are very dedicated. We do have an election, as you mentioned, coming up. Early voting is...
So the Thursday, Wednesday
and Thursday.
That's
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
So for those that are undecided, what separates you from your opponent here in the runoff for the Republican side here?
Yes, ma'am. So what separates me is I'm been endorsed by President Trump. I'm a fifth generation farmer. I've been tied.
How are your fingernails today? You got dirt under
Yes,
your
I
fingernails?
had to make sure they were clean before I got in. I'm glad you asked, because I said I can't go in there looking like that. But I am the only endorsed candidate by President Trump. This is the first time he's ever done that. But also the experience that I have, I think people want that. They want someone who can deliver results, who has a track record. And I have voted in every single election that I was allowed to. My opponent, unfortunately, hasn't. And I think that if you're, like my granddad said, if you're willing to ask somebody to do something, you better be willing to do it yourself, son. And so I'm out asking people to vote. And I'm not sure how someone who hasn't ever voted in these past recent elections, that they could ask somebody to vote the same. But I do think that people need to know that I am from my farm, and I have the experience from not just from behind a desk, but I have worked the fields of South Carolina. We have gone without. I mentioned our timber earlier. We had to chop trees down to make firewood. So my family could have Christmas. I grew up in a single wide trailer. I live down a two and a half mile dirt road. I understand what it's like because I never forgot where I came from. But I want to take the people back to their department. I have the experience, the relationships, not only from the farmhouse to the state house, but all the way to the White House. And we're going to bring the people back to their Department of Agriculture.
Well, Cody Simpson, it's been a pleasure having you here today. We've tried to connect with you several times, and today we did. So
yes,
this
ma'am.
was good.
This has been wonderful, and I'm like Penny. I might take me a little nap, too.
Yeah, she's decided, they didn't talk about anything I wanted to talk about.
That's right. She might want some treats.
She might. Well, I really appreciate the sunflowers. I love sunflowers, and I wish you all the best. Wednesday and Thursday are early voting.
Yes, ma'am.
And then Tuesday is the actual day.
Yes, ma'am. And just to remind people, even if you did not vote in the primary, you can still vote in the runoff. A lot of people were getting those messages. I want people to understand that even if you missed it, because only 15% of the state turned out. So even if you did not vote in the runoff, in the actual primary, you can still vote in the runoff. And so I encourage those people, again, to tell their friends. And like we say on the farm, 1 + 1 might be 2, but the right 2 could be 20.
That's true. That's true. Well, Cody Simpson, thank you so much for making time for us here on WCRS Radio.
Yes, ma'am. I hope it's not my last.
I hope it's not your last either. All right, that's going to do it for us here today. We're going to drop the curtain. We're going to cue the music. And I'll be back tomorrow morning right here on WCRS Radio. Bye-bye, everybody. Okay. Well, let's see. Well, I guess we'll just say goodbye. That's what we'll do. We'll just say goodbye. Bye-bye, everybody. That's it for us.